In movies centered around asteroids hitting the Earth, one fact is glaringly common: lack of preparedness. And despite there existing real-time asteroid detectors around the real Earth, the likelihood of a minor asteroid, which are as common as they are abundant, colliding with the Earth's surface is ever present. So how have scientists managed to tackle this? Apparently, one potential solution might include a nuclear attack to blast the asteroid out of space to save Earth. Here's what you need to know about it. What brings about this solution? As we're sure no one in the world is unaware of this information, over 66 million years ago, a 6.2-mile asteroid that hit Earth resulted in a violent crash that wiped out most, if not all, existing species on the planet, including but not limited to the very famous dinosaurs, a species that has, at that point, presided over the planet for over 180 million years. Although some scientists hypothesize that the original crash and the resulting crater wiped out all flightless dinosaurs, which left some winged dinosaurs to go extinct over the next millennia as the world suffered through the aftershocks of the impact. As mentioned before, asteroids are present in the space surrounding Earth in abundance, which is not to say that we are at constant risk of being hit by one, but we can never be 100% certain. Every day, more than 10,000 space particles, namely debris and stardust, enter the Earth's atmosphere and cause little to no damage. Newer research also shows that the atmosphere of the Earth is a formidable barrier that can prevent impact by smaller asteroids aiming to penetrate the Earth's surface. All that said, there have been predictions by psychics and religions all over the world that mention the end of the world and correlate it to a modern-day asteroid crash. And to stop what happened in the Mesozoic era from happening to us again, scientists have created a fail-safe of sorts that will obliterate, or at the very least, cause an asteroid to change course if one happens to be headed towards Earth. Introduction of the study and its misconceptions. In a study published in early October 2021, Megan Brooks-Sayal, a planetary defense researcher at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, actually clarified that the big, few-mile-long asteroids that frequently make the cut in apocalyptic movies are actually not what scientists and researchers worry about most, adding that we know they're not going to be a threat anytime soon. An example of the small meteorites and meteors that scientists admit can sneak up on them undetected is the meteor that exploded over Siberia back in 1908. Of course, back then, the tech did not exist that could warn people off, and despite being only 200 feet long, the blast wave of shock leveled about 800 square miles of forest, the size equivalent of the whole Washington, D.C. metro area, Dr. Sayal compared. The study highlights give us a hint into what was concluded, as it claims that in the study they present a fiducial stimulation of the nuclear disruption of a small body, and that they found that nuclear disruption is an effective strategy for late-time scenarios, which we can assume reference short-notice moments. But in general, the study claims that an unwarned asteroid measuring about 330 feet could be annihilated by a 1-megaton nuclear device with 99.9% of its mass, like debris, staying in place and being reflected back to Earth, even if it is 2 months away. Our last resort before this study and its proposed theory. This is an especially impressive backup plan because our usual backup plan relies on sufficient warning time and at least a decade of notice, preferably more. Before this new study's emergence, an asteroid on its way to Earth would be hit with an uncrewed spacecraft either gently or aggressively, depending on its size, which would divert its original trajectory and therefore allow it to not crash into the planet. This strategy, which was popularized as deflection, has in theory been our primary prevention plan, and its first test will be taking place next year with NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, also known as the DART space mission. Now, there's no doubt that deflection is a non-violent course of action that can prove as useful in action as it does in theory, but it relies on years worth of notice, which is not a decisive guarantee when it comes to smaller asteroids. In fact, even then, it may be far too late to sufficiently and successfully alter its path, or a number of other issues that could take place. For example, what if the asteroid gets hit a little too hard and breaks up, leading to the broken up pieces to head towards the Earth and cause multiple collisions? What the study itself hypothesizes. The study, headed by Patrick King, a physicist at the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, attempted to provide planetary salvation by running 3D simulations wherein asteroids were hit with nukes in order to assess whether they could successfully ward off an oncoming asteroid. In these simulations, he sent multiple 330-foot asteroids on their way to collide with Earth. To be specific, 5 asteroids were hurled towards this simulated Earth along 5 different orbital points. Then, he sent powerful 1-megaton nuclear devices their way. The simulation proved that when the detonation took place at least 2 months before the expected impact date, it was enough to ensure that practically every destroyed fragment of the asteroid missed the Earth and did not collide. And any fragment that did reach was too small and burned while entering entering the Earth's atmosphere. The inevitable cons of the study. And even as this really well-simulated theory has not been tested yet, there are some points of error that can error, rendering it not to be entirely foolproof as it intended to. Assuming one miscalculates the energy required to destroy it, they may cause multiple fragments, ones that may then set their course towards Earth, and if these chunks are huge, they may create more violence than the deflection strategy, considering its proximity to Earth. This is to say, no one, not even the researchers on this study, want to wait until the very last moment to see if this simulated nuclear Hail Mary can actually stop Armageddon or the destruction of the world as we know it. But that does not mean we shouldn't prepare for the worst-case scenario, which is that one day, humanity may not have a choice. Great as NASA's systems may be, they report around 17,000 asteroids that surround the Earth, measuring 460 feet or even larger, that are yet to be found by any detection systems. Aren't nuclear bombs bad? No one invention is inherently good or bad. Something as harmless as a spoon can be lethal in the hands of someone trained to weaponize spoons. Nuclear weapons have historically been used to incur suffering upon the helpless, and as a result have gained a pretty bad rep. Nuclear weapons, like atomic bombs and such, rely on nuclear fission or the rapid splitting of the nuclei to release energy. Patrick Michel, who was not involved in this study but is an expert on asteroids at the Observatoire de la Côte d'Azur, claimed that using an atomic bomb to blow up an asteroid will quite literally always be the last resort, like if we were ever in a race against time to save the entire human race and more. A hopeful future, but all is not yet lost, and we must not dissipate in a state of perpetual depression over the ever-looming threat of oncoming destruction. Science and technology are evolving daily, and to help combat this fear of missing the asteroid, a future NASA telescope is in the works, one that can allegedly be able to detect 2/3 of those 17,000 meteorites and many asteroids. Well, many for how large asteroids usually are. On March 27th, NASA, the U.S. Space Agency, confirmed that the planet was safe from an asteroid that has been in the news for its potential impact on the Earth, at least for another 100 years or so. This isn't the best news, considering the asteroid isn't entirely gone, but we can breathe a sigh of relief, for that is our descendants' problem. On a more serious note, it is more than possible that in the upcoming years, science and astrophysics make giant leaps in terms of discovery and how better to protect the Earth from space objects hurtling towards us. This delay has done more for us by biding its time and giving us an opportunity to come up with more foolproof plans to resist impact without resorting to mistakes that may worsen our conditions. In 2004, NASA discovered an asteroid that was seemingly making its way towards the Earth and has been cautious ever since. Threats of it colliding in 2029 and 2036 were making rounds, but were eventually debunked. A slight prediction of it colliding with the planet in 2068 still persisted, but was debunked earlier this year as well. In a statement released, NASA scientist David Farnokia claimed a 2068 impact is not in the realm of possibility anymore, and our calculations don't show any impact risk for at least the next 100 years. So we can safely presume that Earth isn't under any immediate danger. And with that, we conclude this video. If you enjoyed watching the video, be sure to leave a like and leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to get notified every time we post a new video.